Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. You see I got a chef coat on today. It means I'm going to give you a cooking lesson. I'm going to show you my way to make chicken marsala. And a lot of people that's intimidating too, but it's actually one of the first things I learned to cook way back in culinary school. It's very easy. It sounds intimidating. Go to a restaurant and have it, you think it's a big deal. It really isn't. So that's what we're going to go over today. One thing I did want to say is you're going to notice in this particular video I'm very cleanliness conscious. I saw another guy doing a video on YouTube of something else he was doing. I don't want to say who he is because I'm not going to badmouth anybody. I just want to let you know the situation. The guy was using meat and he was making a pot roast and he just total cross-contaminated his entire kitchen. It was bad. I mean, the graphics and the camera work were much better than my videos, and I give him credit for that, but I want y'all to cook safely. And like I said, we're working with chicken today, which carries salmonella. We don't want to transport that salmonella germs to our vegetables or any place else in the kitchen. So we're going to be very careful today, and I'm going to mention it a few times, and we're going to cook some good food, and it's going to be good. Let's get going with the ingredients right now. Okay, I'm going to spend a little extra time talking about the ingredients today because you've got a few options that we'll decide as we're cooking it. I also left the chicken away from my ingredients, which is something I'm going to explain to you whenever I show you how to prepare your chicken. But anyway, basic recipe is you got your salt and pepper. There's some there's chicken stock that I made the other day whenever I was making some chicken soup. I saved some of the homemade broth. And like I said, I'm trying to go as completely fresh as possible on this one. I got some extra virgin olive oil over there. There's one medium onion diced up. I actually got a little lazy today, ran out to the food processor, but whatever you're comfortable with. 4 cloves of fresh garlic, and I got those all minced up. That's in that little bowl there. Some lemon juice, a stick of butter. I got some heavy whipping cream there, and of course Marsala wine. That's a cooking wine you can get. I got that at the local grocery store, but you can probably get a dry Marsala from a wine store if you really want to go all out. I find for home that works just fine, and it was there. I didn't feel like going to the liquor store. And then my mushrooms are baby bella mushrooms, and they're fresh. And that's what I want to talk about next. So let me show you something about these mushrooms. Now with these mushrooms, I picked them up at the grocery store. You can get the regular white ones if you want to. I prefer getting the baby bellas for this particular dish, but the white ones work just fine, so whatever you choose to do. I always buy them whole, and I'm going to tell you why. This one's been cleaned. They're much easier to clean when they're whole. If you buy the ones that are pre-sliced, I mean, let's face it, these things grow in dirt. So you want to clean them really well before you use them. In cold water, rinse them off and dry them. It's much easier to do the whole mushroom, to clean it, than to do all the slices. You think you're getting them clean, but you're really not. And then just slice them up. I don't know if I get this on the camera angle or not. Just right down through, they slice them up real neat. Takes a little bit of extra time. But believe me, it's going to be worth it whenever you go to eat this. And that's what I wanted to tell you about the mushrooms. We'll put that in there. Now I'm going to talk to you about the chicken, which is the next section. This step's actually optional. I was at the deli today when I bought the other ingredients, the chicken and whatnot, and I saw this prosciutto in the window. So I had them slice it for me fresh, some nice thin pieces. You don't have to put prosciutto in it. I just decided that I wanted to be a little fancy. I like to be fancy sometimes. And all we're going to do is we're going to cut these into little 1/2-inch strips this way. I could have chose a better knife for this. In fact, I'm going to use a better knife. And where's my knife? The knife's missing. Alright, we'll see that. This isn't the right knife I'd rather use, but I know it's sharp. There, that's better. Just 1/2-inch strips, little pieces. If you don't want to use prosciutto, you don't have to. It doesn't necessarily go in chicken marsala. A lot of people like it in there. I'm one of them. Also, if you want to try, if you don't want to spend the money for prosciutto because it is a little expensive, you could put some bacon in there. And like I said, this knife is terrible. I should have grabbed a good knife. But hey, it wouldn't be one of my videos if everything was perfect. Here's a quick way to do it. I rolled it up, and I'm going to cut the pieces off. That's working out better. I'm just going to cut that, like I said, 1/2-inch strips. And I got it on a clean cutting board here. I'm going to set this aside until we're ready to use it, but that's what it's going to look like when you're done. Now on to the chicken. Anyway, as far as the chicken goes, I've already done these because I forgot to turn the camera on. But you'll notice I'm using a red cutting board for my chicken. Chicken does carry that salmonella germs on it, and you don't want to get that cross-contaminated into any of your other food. After it's cooked, it's fine, but it's a good habit to sanitize your whole workstation before you use it and after you're done. So, getting back into the chicken, you see this breast is really, really thick. You can see that breast is really thick over here and really thin over here. It's even thinner at the tail. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this little piece of fat off. It's just not going to cook up well in what I'm trying to make. So I'm just going to take that off there and put that in my garbage pile. Now, since this is so thick, a lot of people would pound it out. It's too big to pound. So what we're going to do is, it's called butterflying. And all you do is go to the thickest point. If you're right-handed, which I am, which I'm filming this left-handed, which is weird, but put your thickest part to your left if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, put it to your right. Take your knife in the opposite hand. I'm going to try to do this left-handed. And we're going to cut right down the middle with our fillet knife, or whatever knife you're going to use. Make it sharp. Watch your fingers. We're cutting right down the center of that. I got to switch to my right hand. Cut right down the center of that, and you're going to have, instead of one chicken breast, you're going to have two. And you see they're still pretty thick. So this is what we're going to do. Let's put this in the garbage. I'm going to get myself some saran wrap here. If you've never seen this before, it looks weird. I remember the first time I did it in front of my father, he thought I was nuts. But this is a cooking technique, believe it or not. You have to pound your chicken. Not only tenderizes it, but it makes it all even so it all cooks evenly. Because you have one side that's still thicker than the other. Put some film on top of it. You can use parchment paper. Sometimes I even put it in a heavy-duty baggie. And then we're just going to lightly, you don't want to smack it, just lightly tap it down. There's actually a membrane on this. And once that membrane breaks, you'll see that it'll get flat. And you can feel and tell that it's all nice, even thickness. And here's the one I started on before. It's thick up here and getting a little thinner down here. This one's nice and even. You can make it as thin as you want to. But as long as it's even, because you want that to cook evenly. Otherwise the thin part will get all tough and nasty, and the thick part will just not cook. It'll cook, but by the time it's done, your thin part will be done. So then after that, we're going to hit it with a little pepper. I like fresh ground pepper. You can use the regular pepper that you get in stores, or ground black pepper that you're used to at the table. This is some regular sea salt. Once again, you don't have to use the sea salt. You can use kosher salt. You can use table salt. I just really like using sea salt. We're going to flip it over and do it again. A little pepper. And those are all done already. So now we got our chicken ready. And this was about 4 chicken breasts. Now they're ready to go. So I'm going to set that there. I'll take my cutting board because I'm done with it, and we're going to wash that. We'll go on to the next step. So the next step is we're going to prepare our chicken. I've got all the chicken pounded out. It's all seasoned with salt and pepper. So I got a cup and a half of flour. I put it in this hotel pan. It's got some pepper and salt in here. This is the kind of dish that you're going to be seasoning every step of the way. You're going to add a little more seasoning here and there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get my pan heated up. Put this on about a medium to high. I'm using all stainless steel today in case I didn't tell you. This is a hotel pan. I stole it fair and square from where I used to work at. Fair and square. And we're going to put our chicken in this flour. I'm just going to toss it in there. It's got some really good pieces, and I got some really crummy pieces too, but it happens. And let me get rid of this. This is where I'm wearing gloves. I don't like getting the flour all over my hands. I'm just going to toss it around in that flour. Make sure it's all covered. And I'll stack it in the corner like that. But that's what you're looking for like that. You just want it covered in flour with the seasonings. Like I said, salt and pepper. And put that in the corner. It's easy. A little messy. And but like I said, our pan's heating up now. I can take my gloves off. Now in the pan what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, and you can use vegetable oil for this, I'm going to use olive oil today. I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of olive oil on the bottom of my pan. Now you can use any pan you want. Sometimes I use the iron skillet, the cast iron skillet. Today I kind of like this pan here. What I'm doing is I'm heating up my oil. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cook this chicken. And let's let this heat up and we will go to it. I'm just going to let it run. Okay, so it looks like my oil is hot enough. Now how we can test that, I'm going to take a little pinch of flour and I'm going to drop in my oil. And as you can see, it's starting to bubble. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but it's just bubbling a little bit. That oil is good. I want to make sure I'm on a medium-high level. I don't want that oil to get too hot because it'll scorch. And we're going to take our chicken and start cooking it off. Lay that down in the hot oil. Always push it away from you like this. If you put it towards yourself, it's very easy for that to splatter oil up and burn you. Now we're going to be cooking these chickens in batches. As you can see, I have more chicken. It won't all fit in the pan. If you want to, you can use 2 pans at the same time. Today we're just going to cook these in batches. So just put that on there. We're going to give that about 2 minutes and we're going to give it a flip. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. I want to see if this should be a little bit golden brown, which it is. If it shows up, I'm going to give it a flip. Try this. This is the first piece we put in. Oh, there it is. Yeah, nice and golden brown. Flip the third one. Again, nice and golden brown. That's what you're looking for right there. You don't want to cook these the whole way through at this point. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to leave this on here another 2 minutes to cook that other side. I mean, it's going to be darn near cooked through whenever we're done. Okay, it's been another 2 minutes. I'm going to take the first batch off. I'm going to set it aside in this pan I have ready. And I'm going to do another batch the same way. Okay, my pan could use a little bit more oil. Don't be afraid to add some more olive oil. If I haven't mentioned it, you can go ahead and use vegetable oil if you want to. Putting about another 2 tablespoons in there. No exact measurement. As long as you have the bottom of your pan covered, that's good enough. I'm going to let that heat up for a moment. Always have your oil and your pan hot when you start this. Because if it's not going to crisp up right. It's just not going to be very good. So that didn't take long to heat at all. So we're going to go ahead with this next batch. Shake some flour off. You definitely want to hear that hissing sound when you put your pieces in the oil. If you're not hearing the hissing sound, your oil is not hot enough. Okay, I'm done with my flour. I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to wash my hands. And I'll see you in 2 minutes. Also, I wanted to tell you when you're cooking this, you want to make sure your hood fan's going on. I don't have it on earlier because I was talking and I don't know if you can hear me now. I'm going to be turning it off here for the next step so you can hear me better. 2 minutes later, I took my chicken off. I got it all on the side plate here. I'm just going to scoot that back out of my way. Now, I'm turning my skillet down to a medium right now. I don't want it to get too hot because now we're going to cook our veggies, onions, mushrooms, and prosciutto. We're going to throw a little more olive oil in there. You might be thinking, oh, there's all kind of crud in the bottom of the pan. You want that there. That's all flavor. So we got heating back up. Like I said, I turned the heat down to medium. You don't want it too hot because you don't want to scorch your onions or your mushroom. There goes the onions. Here comes the mushrooms. And you might think I have a lot of mushrooms here, but they actually shrink as they cook. Turn that fan off. Might get a little smoky in here. Just give them a stir. Remember I said every stage we do we're going to season. So right now I want to put some salt in there. That salt helps these mushrooms shrink up a little bit. It helps the onions sweat so you get a good flavor rather than burning it. It can take about 5 minutes to do this. Between 5 and 8 minutes, I'd say. You just want to keep stirring them. If you know how to toss them, you can toss them. The old fancy like in restaurants. Just try not to get your heat too high so you don't burn your onions. Notice I have not put the garlic in yet. It's sitting right here. I want these to be about halfway cooked before I put the garlic in. So that's actually getting a little too cool, so I'm going to beef up my heat a little bit. Obviously I like using a gas stove. If you noticed in an earlier video I had a white stove. This one's new. We just got it earlier this last year. I've already done a few videos with it, but I don't think I ever mentioned that it was new. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to add some butter now. Probably about 2 tablespoons. Yep, 2 tablespoons of butter. Just let that melt into those mushrooms. Every once in a while my wife laughs at me, because every once in a while instead of saying mushrooms I'll say marshmallows. But as you can see, I'm breaking up these mushrooms that I cut. They are starting to shrink. My onions are beginning to be translucent. That butter's melting in there nicely. Here comes the garlic. My mushrooms are about halfway cooked when I added the garlic. If you put your garlic in, and this is, I believe it was 4 cloves of garlic that I minced up myself. 2 pounds of mushrooms. Like I said, I'm going to write this in the description for you guys because this is kind of a complicated one. Different things go different places. Okay, we're going to let that simmer. Probably going to fast forward at this point. Now you can see these mushrooms are doing nicely. They're just about done. I got the garlic incorporated in there. Now is when I'm going to put in the prosciutto. Like I said, prosciutto is optional, completely up to you. If you want to use it, you can use that. You can use bacon. It's just more of a, it has more of a grown-up flavor to it. And I should have broken those up a little better, but break them up while they're in there. Yes, I did wash my hands. I wash my hands all the time when I'm cooking. Can never be too clean in the kitchen. Turning my heat up to high for just a minute, and you're going to see why here. The mushrooms are all nice and shrinking. My prosciutto is rendering. You see all the liquids now coming out of the mushrooms. That's why it's bubbling like that. And that's what you want. You want to evaporate most of that mushroom water. You can see this right here where it's actually bubbling. That's mushroom water. It's looking pretty good though. Now it wouldn't be chicken marsala if we didn't use marsala. And this is a cooking wine I found at the grocery store. You can get a dry marsala and use it. But now we're going to put in about a cup and a half. Because this is where you're going to get the marsala flavor. Now marsala is a wine that actually has a touch of brandy in it. I've got it on high now. I want that marsala to boil so I can get all the alcohol out of it. So yep, we're going to bring this to a boil. Little bitty stir. Make sure that marsala is touching everything. Basically it's going to reduce down to about 1/3 of what I put in. And we'll fast forward to that so I can show you what it looks like. Okay, it has been about maybe 5 minutes. The wine has boiled down pretty much. Now, a good way you can tell, the whole reason we're boiling the wine is to get the alcohol out of it. You don't want that alcohol taste in it. And a good way to tell is how I do it. The way I tell if all the alcohol is gone is I smell the steam coming out of it. And if if you can still smell the alcohol, then guess what? You got to boil it some more. But this is already done. It passed the sniff test. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to put in some of this chicken base. Chicken stock, excuse me. This is left over from soup I made last week. Or, yeah, it was last week, I guess. And I'm putting in, to start with, I have 3 cups here, but I'm putting in 2 cups. Because I don't want to overflow my pan. I need to put this chicken back in here. So I need more from rest of my. So I'm only putting in 2 cups for now. You can always add more later. And then we're going to stir it. I like using these bamboo. This is messed up. I like using the bamboo ones. This will work. I like using the bamboo on all of my pans for some reason. They won't scratch Teflon. They're good in the iron skillet. They're good in the stainless steel we're using today. But as you can see, my wife caught one on fire. I don't even know why that's still there. I'm going to throw that away. So we got our chicken base in there, and I almost forgot. Lemon juice you can put in almost any time you want, just to add a little acid. That's probably about 1.5 teaspoons. Like I said, that's the good thing about cooking. You don't really have to use exact measurements all the time. You can just kind of wing it. This is coming along nicely. And you notice it's a little thin. When I put the chicken in here to cook, the flour on the chicken should thicken this up with the butter I've already put in there. And I was thinking, originally I wasn't going to do this because I told you it was an option. I was just going to use butter. But today, for the sake of argument, it seems to be mostly popular. People will put heavy cream in there. So I'm going to put about 1/2 cup of heavy cream in there. It's going to lighten up my gravy a little bit. It doesn't take much. And that'll also make it a creamier texture when this gravy's all said and done. I'm going to fold that in there. You can put more in. It's really pretty much the taste. See, it's lightening up. It's starting to look like Marsala gravy now. It's lightening up. It smells really good. I wish we had smell-o-vision on this video. So now it's time to take our chickens, put it in the gravy. I'm going to take the nicest ones because I feel like all this chicken might not fit. And if it doesn't fit, then we're going to have, I'll finish cooking those. We'll make fried chicken sandwiches for my wife and I later. I have to finish cooking them though. I could do it in batches. Yeah, those 2 probably aren't going to fit. Maybe this little guy. Oh, this one will fit. Oh, it fits. Well, now I got one all to itself. Alright, we'll cook that the rest of the way through later and give it to the pups because they're right at my feet. So now all we do is we're just going to let that simmer. I'm going to turn it down to a little bit below medium. We're going to let that simmer for, 10 minutes. 10 minutes sounds good. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay guys, yes, there was a little too much here. Gracie, say hello to the people. These are my little beggars. They get the extra chicken. Well, it's been about 5 or 6 minutes and the color's looking good. My chicken's nice and cooked through. There's 2 ways you can tell if your chicken's done. You can take a thermometer and you want to get 165 out of the fattest portion of the biggest piece. 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Or you can cut open the biggest part and make sure there's no pink in the middle. Today I use my thermometer, which I put in the bin over there. I did wash this. I want to point that out because we had raw chicken, well, half-cooked chicken in it before. I washed it. The reason is, and I don't normally have to do this, I'm going to take these pieces out. I want to thicken this gravy up a little bit. And it's just easier to do if I take my pieces out, thicken the gravy, then we'll put the pieces back in and we're done. I'll tell you what, this does smell delicious though. My wife will come home from work and she gets to have a nice dinner. And one thing we didn't talk about is side dishes. What would you serve it with? I'd like to hear in the comments what you guys think. I like to serve it with some fettuccine and a garlic butter sauce, just something really simple. That way it doesn't take away from the dish. You can serve it with mashed potatoes if you want. Asparagus is good. Now, I've used this technique before. I'm going to briefly tell you what this is. This is equal parts of cornstarch and cold water. I believe it was 3 tablespoons of each. And this is one way to thicken up a gravy. It's not my preferred method. I'd like to use the regular roux, which is butter and flour. But this works just fine. It actually makes a nice silky gravy. Just put in a little bit at a time and mix it in. While you're, there you see it's getting nice and thick now. That was just a little tiny bit. A little of this goes a long way. So I won't even have to use this whole thing today. Yeah, that's perfect. That's all I needed with just a little dash of that. Now my gravy's nice and thick. we are ready to put this together and taste it. Well, like I said, just put the chicken back in. Splash it everywhere. Yeah, I get to be kind of a slob sometimes. So that's that. Turn my heat completely off because we are done. Let's plate this up and have a taste test. What do you think? This is one of the things I like about my kitchen window. I don't know if you can see those guys down there. There's some deer in the backyard. We get these guys all the time. See if I can zoom in. Yeah, they come by quite often. You throw apple scraps out and stuff for them and they feed on them. Another guy over here somewhere. There he is. Just something, little addition out of my little tiny kitchen. So I know that seems pretty complicated, but once you do it a few times, you can make it in less than half an hour. But now's my favorite part. I don't normally taste my stuff on camera, but today I want to taste my stuff on camera. You can see, it should be a picture right before this, how it come out. It's nice and tender. I mean, look at this. Nice, I don't know how it's coming out on the camera. It's nice and tender, it's cooked through. It smells delicious. I can taste that mushroom and marsala coming through from the gravy. My wife's in for a treat when she comes home from work today. Anyway, chicken marsala, that's how I make it. There's plenty of other ways to make it. Like I said, I used the heavy cream today. Normally when I make it, I just use butter. But I figured I'd show you guys how it comes out with the heavy cream. If you don't want to use the heavy cream, just go ahead and put in another 2 tablespoons of butter. If it comes out too thin, I showed you how to thicken it up a little bit. As far as sides go, like I said, I plan on making my wife maybe some fettuccine with some garlic butter sauce. That's what I plan on making her tonight. Any kind of potato you want to. My wife's kind of potatoed out. We've been having dinners lately with a lot of potatoes, so she asked for not potatoes. Asparagus is a good side too. Anything you can think of. I mean, it's totally up to you. Rice pilaf, fried rice, anything you can think of. Anyway, please like this video, share it. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. I do all kinds of videos on my channel, some of my cooking videos. And any questions or suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments. If you want me to try to cook something on camera for you, let me know. If I can do it, I will. Every once in a while I'll learn how to do something new too. I'm all about learning new things. Like I said, I was a chef for over 30 years and I'm still learning to this day different stuff. And I love learning, I love cooking, cook any chance I get. So, thanks for watching my video and we'll see you next time.